to plan for Arlington Heights, no one will be able to tell you. Listen, the Bears belong in Chicago. I still believe that's the best place for the Bears to play. And I'm going to advocate for Chicago. Why would anyone actively work to take jobs away from our people in the city of Chicago? Mm-hmm. Right? What type of opportunity is going to be created for our folks to work in the suburbs? You understand what I'm saying? We're working hard to create opportunities right here. The museum campus is the top tourist destination anywhere in the state of Illinois, from the Obama Center, south to Navy Pier North and everywhere else in between. And so I'm the only person who put a plan forward. In fact, for 3 years, the state of Illinois.
The talk of Chicago is 1690 WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
At Fifth Third Bank, being part of the community means investing in its future. From supporting local businesses to funding neighborhood initiatives, we're here to create lasting opportunities. It's our commitment to Chicago. This is banking, a Fifth Third better. Learn how we're making a difference at 53.com. That's 53.com. Fifth Third Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
Healthy eating supports strength, energy, and overall wellness as we age. Balanced meals can help your body continue to thrive, and that's your healthy reminder.
This healthy reminder is sponsored in part by OSF Complete Care 55+.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
It's the afternoon show.
You got to remember, when we do it, it's called flued out.
We flew him.
Girl, he flew me out.
Oh, my. Why are you putting my people down?
No, that's what we call it. That's what it is.
Out. You've had this conversation with someone.
I flew people out.
You flew people? Flown people out? Now you got me saying.
If somebody telling me you flew me out, no, I'm not flying you nowhere after you just said that. I'm not.
He said I was about to until you said that.
Right.
The afternoon show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no two people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart, it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed for a limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
This is your host and life coach, Linnell Harris, and I want you to join me every Sunday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for Inspirational Perspective. On Inspirational Perspective, we talk life vision, life purpose, and the show is all about helping you live the best life possible. So join me as we look at supporting you in living the life you intend to live and making your life's vision a reality. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 a.m. WVON.
It's Tio Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
They call him Mr. Ceasefire. They call him Mr. Ceasefire. Stopping shootings and killings almost every day. Trying to make a better way. They call him Mr. Ceasefire. Mr. Ceasefire. He's a man on a mission with a plan. Doing the best he can. A true champion for the people.
All right, good morning, Chicagoland. Tio Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman here in the house at WVON 1690 AM. It's an honor to be here. I want to thank God for allowing me to host this particular show every Sunday morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And it's been a blast because I've been on the air for about 6 years now, and I never thought I would be able to hold it down for 6 years, but I do have staying power, right? I definitely have staying power. If you want to call in and join the discussion this morning, you can call in at 773-591-64 1690, 773-591-1690. You can go and like the WVON Facebook page, iHeartRadio download. If you want to watch the show internationally or nationally, you can download the WVON app at iHeartRadio as well, right? So I want to say on behalf of some of the sponsorship here, my organization, Violence Interrupters, not-for-profit organization, is the principal sponsor of the Tio Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman show. But we have also, if you need some work done on your car, check out my man Bob's Midas on 74th and Stony Island. There have been 2 or 3 restaurants open up on 82nd and Stony Island. You have a Southern Comfort restaurant there, and you have a new Jerkyard restaurant right there in the neighborhood. So try to support some of the businesses right in the neighborhood. African-American owned businesses out there. You have Bob's Midas. You have a lot of different nationalities working in there, but the majority of the people that work there are African-American. So let's support Black businesses and do the best we can to support our people throughout the universe, right? Let's not just wait until one day in particular, like Juneteenth. Let's support one another 24 hours a day, 365 days throughout the year. Now, I don't have time to sing this morning because I'm not really in the spirit to sing this morning. We have a good subject matter we're going to talk about, though. But, I may rap sometime as we move forward here and there as well. So look here. We want to talk about the importance of having an oversight committee here in the city of Chicago. And I have Alderman Raymond Lopez and Alderman James Gardner. They're going to join me momentarily on the phone, and we're going to have that conversation. And then I also want to put this out there in the universe. Some pastors and community leaders that stepped up and said they wanted the mayor to open up an office of gun violence reduction. I want to get your thoughts on that. I plan to ask the aldermen as well about their thoughts, the Office of Gun Violence Reduction. But mainly we're going to talk about the importance of having an oversight committee here in the city of Chicago so we'll know what's going on, like far as, what's happening in Chicago, all righty? So let me get Brother James on. Alderman Gardner, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Tio?
I'm always good. Good to hear your voice, all right?
Likewise.
All right, let me get your comrade on right now. Alderman Raymond Lopez, what's going on?
Tio, how are you, my friend?
I'm always good. Good to hear your voice also, Brother Raymond Lopez, Alderman Raymond Lopez, all right?
I think it's the first time anyone called me a comrade, but all right, we're good.
That's right. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen for sure. So what I want to do is just get started. I want to ask you all a question before we get into the overall subject matter. Then I have a few people waiting to talk to you guys as well already on the phone. Got about 6 callers lined up. So now there's some faith-based leaders push for an Office of Gun Violence Reduction here in the city of Chicago after the Juneteenth, all the shootings that took place. What are your initial thoughts about that right off the bat before we get into the other discussion? Any thoughts, Alderman Gardner?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. What in particular, do you want to get into regarding that?
Well, the way I look at it, I think we already had an Office of Violence Reduction in the city of Chicago, I believe. You have correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to understand even myself, because I do this work with Violence Interrupters, do the best we can do. But there's already an office down there that deals with violence reduction, correct?
Yes.
Right.
So to answer your question, I think a lot of people, not just myself, have some questions that probably want to be answered. Anytime you're dealing with taxpayer money, you want to know that it's going to places that's actually going to have an impact, a positive impact on our communities. And I think the question right there is this something that's actually going to have a positive impact, or is this just something that just placates that it's doing something when actuality it might just be funding individuals that may or may not have a relationship with the mayor?
Yeah, because what I'm looking at as well, and I'll ask Alderman Lopez the same question. So if you open up an Office of Gun Violence Reduction, why not put your office right in the neighborhoods? Like have a satellite office in Inglewood, one on the west side where all the violence is taking place, opposed to having it down at City Hall. That's just my thought initially, because I have to just be straight up with everybody. I'll say this. When it comes down to gun violence, The only people that can really stop it are the people that have relationships with some of the shooters, but ultimately the shooters that are pulling the triggers, they need to stop the damn gun violence, right? Because it's like nobody has a crystal ball knowing when everybody's going to shoot most of the time. That's why on the Juneteenth weekend, holiday weekend, especially for African-American people, the majority of gun violence took place in the Black community, but that means there's a disconnect with the history of Juneteenth, in my opinion. I'm just saying that for myself. So, Alderman Raymond Lopez, what are your thoughts about the Office of Gun Violence Reduction? Give me some commentary on it.
I'm just going to make it real quick. I don't think it's going to do a damn thing in the city of Chicago. You have $100 million that we already spent, $140 million that we already spent, on violence interruption. Now the mayor wants another $60 million so he could hire people at City Hall, like you said, not in the neighborhood, but to be in City Hall to coordinate what we're already doing.
That's what I was thinking about, right?
What we're already doing, it's not working. So why would you reward that with even more money? Have all your friends who are already on the payroll show up and say we need more money, instead of saying what can we do to actually save a life in the city of Chicago?
Right, and then because I work in this particular field, I can say this in a real strong way. In order to also stop killings, you have to understand the mindset of a killer. If you don't understand the mindset of a shooter, you cannot do this work, because a lot of you cannot work from a distance. And if people out there saying they're working to reduce gun violence, I've said it time and time again, if you come back every day saying that everything's cool, and next thing you know, you hear 8 people got shot. See, there's no way to go to the belly of the beast and work down there in the jungle, I call it, without getting scarred sometime. So that means you're not going as deep as you should be going, because most shooters not going to call you, say, I'm about to kill somebody. It doesn't work that way. Right. That's why it's important to have boots on the ground and put it like this. You can have access, but it's also equally important to have influence to talk somebody down when they want to take a life. A lot of times you got a lot of this unaddressed trauma going on, on an anger scale from 1 to 10, most people on 9.5, literally. 9.5. So any little slight misunderstanding will cause them to shoot somebody. So we have to work in the field of really helping to reduce the levels of trauma that people are dealing with. And then in Chicago, people are desensitized to the violence because it just happens all the time. But we're doing the best we can do. And I'm looking at it from a different lens. I look at it from a law enforcement lens and from a community organizing lens. But gun violence has been in Chicago since Al Capone. So I'll end by saying that about the gun violence scenario, okay? All right. So I had you guys to come on before I take some callers to talk about oversight committees and the need, in other words, to have strong oversight here in the city of Chicago. So could you kind of like expound on that a little bit for me, Alderman Gardner? What's going on with the oversight committees here in Chicago?
Now, which oversight are you talking about? Are you talking about oversight as far as like Inspector General? Are you talking about COPA? What oversight committees are you talking about?
We could talk about COPA, Inspector General, but there needs to be some checks and balances in place when decisions are being made on any level. I know the guy, Brother Cat Daddy, had wanted me to have you guys come on and talk about. He pretty much pushed the topic to you guys, like the importance of having oversight committees in Chicago. I guess on every level, Alderman Gardner, every level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you know, Tio, but recently I think maybe one of the things why Mark maybe wanted or invited me was because, I mean, recently, I filed a lawsuit against the city of Chicago where the Board of Ethics, who's an oversight committee, right? They make sure that, all city workers are playing within the field of ethics and they're playing accordingly. And then they brought charges against me, said that I violated 10 ethics codes back in 2019.
Okay.
And then actually when I hired a lawyer and fought it, they found out that I was innocent on all 10 counts, but then also that that evidence was being withheld by the Inspector General's office, which was a huge no-no.
Okay. So maybe that's what it was all about then, because a lot of times we only get a piece of the story when we look at the media or listen to the news, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to just have Alderman Lopez chime in. So Alderman Lopez, what are your initial thoughts? I know how you feel to a degree, Alderman Lopez, having oversight committees on every level of decisions that are being made in the city. That's, would you say, a priority? How important would it be? How important is it?
It can be important if you actually listen and if you're not pushing an agenda. I mean, we have a committee we have advisory committees, we have oversight committees, we have committees about committees. But in the end, there's only so many panels you could put together before you actually got to start doing some work. And I think that's what this administration has been hiding behind, is that they'll put a group of 15, 20 leaders on a committee, say, congratulations, you're on the committee on, reparations, and then allow them not to meet for 3 years. Well, that doesn't move the needle on the topic. It doesn't address the issue, but it allows the mayor and his allies to get away from any accountability by saying that, we're able to work on this, but it's not my fault nothing got done. It's the advisory committee's fault. All the while patting himself on the back and helping to continue to reward his cronies with contracts and things like that, just to keep people quiet.
Okay.
At some point, the mayor has to do some work. At some point, he has to start making some decisions, and that's not his strong suit, unfortunately.
Understood. Well, I'll say this much, and I filled out the applications to be a part of the city's reparations committee, and I was denied. Now, I understand why I was denied, because I'm more outspoken, and a lot of times I'm not controversial. I want to make that clear. I've been around the city all my life. I don't understand why I was. I do, in a way, understand, because sometimes people may judge me from a distance, Alderman, and I believe that you shouldn't have yes men around you all the time, because I'm not your traditional yes man. So therefore, we don't need Tio at the table. I've been pushing reparations like nobody. I'm not going to compare myself to nobody, but I've been pushing reparations all along. Every week I'm pushing reparations. So to deny me is crazy. So let me get Cat Daddy on the line. Maybe he can kind of like bring a little bit more information to the discussion this morning. Cat Daddy, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. Happy Sunday.
Happy
Sunday.
So I invited Raymond Lopez and Jim Gardner to discuss not so much committees, but some kind of oversight at all levels, whether it be county government, state government, or city government. Because a lot of people have been playing fast or loose. A lot of these, I shouldn't say a lot, but several agencies or committees of all three levels have been playing fast and loose with transparency and open meetings. Oh, before I get to that, on answer on the Office of Gun Violence, I'm kind of like with Raymond Lopez. What's the use of having that when you get defunded policing and you're more worried about the victimizers than the victims?
So therefore, it should have been Cat Daddy, Office of Restorative Justice, something like that, Alderman, where we can actually begin to work with the victims of gun violence in Chicago. That might have been a better direction to go into. Sometimes people make decisions off emotions, what sounds good right at that moment, because it's kind of strange. The faith-based leaders raise their voice about opening up the office, and then the very next day you have the office. So that was a decision probably based on the emotions, what took place during the Juneteenth holiday weekend. Cat Daddy. Yeah, go ahead, Cat Daddy.
In my case, the mayor and his administration is blatantly on this reparations thing, violating the Open Meetings Act, and he seems to have advocates in the Attorney General's office to help him run interference on that. I just got I put in my complaint about the lack of open meetings for the regular lack of media and public access, general public access, for the regular and special meetings of the Reparations Task Force, which is not to be confused with the State Reparations Commission, in February. And they ran out the clock for a binding opinion, and I just now got a determination, which is non-binding, at the beginning of this month. And it pretty much agreed with us that the Reparations Task Force is indeed a public body and subject to the Open Meetings Act. But the mayor has, as of one of the last, the next to last presser, pretty much said that he considers it a advisory committee that only has to have its hearings open to the public, and that it will not have them open, the regular meetings open to the public. and they're pretty much running out the clock on the task force, which is supposed to have its last meeting and issue its report on harms next month.
All right, Cat Daddy, I appreciate your call, okay?
So you have no enforcement.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
understand.
they're gonna do what they want to. And the only way we can have some enforcement is to file a lawsuit
yeah, but this is what we're going to do. I just want to make it clear. The views on this show are not the views of WVON. And in all fairness, I want everybody that's listening to know I have invited the mayor to come on my show on several occasions and no response. So it's not like I have not invited him to kind of tell his side of the story of what he's doing. I want to make that clear. So what we're going to do, Alderman Gardner and Alderman Lopez, we're going to shift the topic just a little bit here to go back to address this gun violence here in Chicago. And what more do you all think we can do? It's a lot of organizations working hard. Don't get me wrong. We're doing the best we can do. Violence Interrupters, we're working with about 150 young men from the South and West Side right now. And we're trying to get them back re-enrolled into alternative schools, job training program for some of the young men, and the mental health services, substance abuse services. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done because these young people struggle with so much out here. And then you got the teen takeovers taking place here and there. So give me some more of your thoughts as leaders in the city on what more you think can be done to help reduce some of this gun violence. And I'll stop with you this time, Alderman Raymond Lopez, and I'll get to Alderman Gardner in a second.
Well, I think what we need to do is we have to, one, stop pretending what we're doing is working right now. We need to focus on what we do know works, which is you have to break the cycle of need and poverty. And yes, you could do a job training program, but it doesn't matter if there's no job at the end of it. Now, the city of Chicago spends nearly $1 billion a year on infrastructure. We have jobs in construction, jobs with unions, jobs all across building things throughout the city of Chicago. But yet we bid them out and give no preference to our own sons and daughters in Chicago and allow many people from the suburbs or even other states to come in and get those jobs. Wondering why the black male youth who suffer from 75% unemployment on the South and West Side
for sure
are so angry. Well, maybe we should put them to work on repairing our streets and our roads and fixing things in the city.
Wow.
We're already spending the money. We can do that.
Well, you know, Alderman, I said it many times before also. It's like, for example, I was doing a lot of work on the CTA trains, okay? And recently, CTA, I mean, I would have to applaud the work of the Cook County Sheriff's Office because they've actually calmed down all the violence on the red lines. You know, the guys are taking over the red line whenever they got ready to. Yep. So I would like to salute the Cook County Sheriffs. But at the same time, CTA was talking about how they had violence interrupters working out there. But I was out there volunteering. I want to make that clear. And we had a lot to do with bringing the numbers down as well. Not to take all the credit. That's why I'm giving a lot of credit to the Cook County Sheriffs. But at the same time, that's something that should have been done a long time ago because so many people suffered on CTA, and then by me bringing a lot of attention to the issue, then all of a sudden it forced their hand to do something about it. If that makes sense to you all right? So,
no, it does. Enforcement matters.
Yeah, there you go. So Alderman Gardner,
there are some people that will never respond to any program or anything we offer, and they have to be dealt with very specifically.
There you go. So Alderman Gardner, give me some of your thoughts about the gun violence. What more do you think can be done from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think my colleague Alderman Lopez brought up some good points, and you know, I think it goes a little bit deeper than just the surface level. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but one of those things that could be and should be focused on is you mentioned something about job training, and I think instead of like we're talking about jobs. Let's get into like careers, talking about, maybe even taking a different look at how we view education. Like prior to being an alderman, prior to being a fireman, I was a Chicago public school teacher at Cary High School. And I mean, just taking, trade schools out of our high schools where they could learn a trade. A lot of young males, they don't want to be sitting in the classrooms for 7 hours a day talking about George Washington or whatever else. I mean, I think a lot of that time, as opposed to just, which I think oftentimes for young males, young minorities who are often susceptible to crime, I think could be used to learning trades so that when they do get out of high school, they're walking out of those doors with some type of skills, whether it be carpentry, electrical, whether it be mechanical, something where they can actually start earning money. They can start renting an apartment. They can start their life and that there's some type of motivation as opposed to just walking out of high school with what we call is a high school diploma, which is, I mean, basically you have zero skills, and we're sending them out into the world. Some decide to go to college, some don't. But I think if we actually started putting some of that money towards things where we're actually giving some of these kids an opportunity to pursue their interests, I think it would have a huge impact, not only with regards to, you know, individuals making a living, but the violence that we're seeing in our cities.
Okay. Gotcha. Let me bring a call on. We got brother Todd calling from Scottsdale, Arizona. Todd he's a former resident of Chicago. So Todd, you're on the air. Come on with it.
Hey, how you doing? 4:30 a.m. here in Scottsdale, T.O. That's how much I love you. First of all, I just
good morning.
Say, good morning, Alderman Lopez. You know, I'm a big advocate of yours. I know you see my posts. I tag you, Alderman Jim Gardner. I'm not familiar with your work, sir, but I like your responses. But nothing is going to change until you get the right mayor in there. You know, I'm looking at these potential field of candidates. You know,
Todd, let me say this, Todd. I have to play the devil's advocate quickly, then I'll get right back to your discussion here. Now, the gun violence. Let's be clear now. I cannot sit here as a man and blame it all on the mayor. I can't do that because we've had gun violence with every mayor. Let's just be honest.
Exactly.
Let's just be honest. I'm not going to play that game, right? I'm not saying you're playing the game, but hear me clearly, brother. All the way from the original Mayor Daley to his son, Rahm Emanuel, you know, Sawyer, you know, you look at it, all the Lloyd Lightfoot, the list goes on and on. So it's not Mayor Brandon's fault that it's the job of the killers and the shooters to stop shooting and killing people, because you got some people out there shooting people for people getting shot just because in Chicago right now. Everything is not gang violence, right? And then Alderman Gardner, I'll get right to you, Todd. The reality, I grew up in the heart of the ghetto. I know how it is when my stomach was growling and I had to go out there and make something happen in my life to even put some food on the table. I'm talking about at early age. So my man, Deion Sanders, right? His mother was working 2 or 3 jobs. She couldn't come see him play. His father was a drug addict. His stepfather was an alcoholic, and he still became a success. The point I'm trying to make, people got to start where they are and do their best to make something out of their lives. So with 75 to 80% of unemployment for African-American youth, maybe, Alderman, the money being spent on everything out there should be spent on hiring them guys and training them guys and giving them a job right off the bat. If we really want to get serious about stopping the gun violence, that's just another thought I want to put out there. But go ahead, Todd, and I'll let the Alderman respond. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you know, in the beginning of your show,
yes,
you say the only way it's going to change is someone that has relationships.
Yeah.
And who better that has relationships with some of these, let's just say some of these individuals than a Tio Hardiman. But I'm just going to end with this.
No, you good.
I left Chicago on Tuesday, June 13th at 4 p.m. Central, 2023. I have never came back. But if you, Tio, or Ray Lopez decided to run for mayor, I would get myself an apartment in Chicago and support you and help you raise funds. I yield.
My man, appreciate you, brother Todd. Much respect to you. All right, here we go then. So let me get another call on real quick here. Brother Andre, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning to you, Tio, and good morning to the guest.
Good morning.
I'll be brief. Thank y'all for coming to break bread with us this morning. Look, you know, y'all, in my personal opinion, now you already have an Office of Gun Violence Reduction. It's called the Chicago Public Schools, if you use it as such. You also already got an oversight committee, which is called the City Council. It always seems to me that when we create these new bureaucracies, it does nothing but raise our taxes. It costs money to run bureaucracies. And when you talk about opening up some office of oversight, we already got oversight. And what does that do? You haven't had oversight. We have 57 mayors in Chicago, going all the way back to Mayor Cermak, and we never had the oversight committee. We just had the city council. We can continue to use that. You need to let Tio go to all of the schools and talk to the kids about the gun violence. And you need to let the police officer friendly start going back to all these schools, classrooms, addressing the issue, talking talking to kids about gun violence. They shouldn't have never stopped Officer Friendly from going to all the schools and sitting in the class with the kids and talk to them about being good law-abiding citizens and guns and drugs and stuff. So you got resources available, but you don't use them. You don't use the Chicago police. I mean, you don't use the Chicago police. You don't use the Chicago schools. Those are resources that are already available. You can't keep throwing money at problems and creating these bureaucracies that raises our taxes. What we need is to do like New York and have a rent freeze and stop all of this spending. There's too much spending going on here in Chicago. Lastly, I'll say that all these aldermen need to come together on the same page and unify for the midterm. We don't need all y'all out there running for mayor biting each other's back here. We need to be unified going into these midterms here, and we need to stick together because we want to have a Democratic National Convention here in Chicago during the next election. So forget all of this backbiting and this fighting each other and whatnot. We need unity in the city because unity for everybody, unity between all you politicians means unity for everybody. Let's deal with some real issues here. Stop throwing money at these problems. Bureaucracies is going to raise our taxes. Thank you, Tio.
Thank you, bro. Okay. Do you want to respond to that, Alderman Gardner, or either Alderman Lopez?
Well, I'm all for a government freeze, that's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with him though, as far as the concerns, as far as, you know, these oversight committees that, you know, is it just something to say that we're doing something, all bark and no bite, and then all it is just another
Right, exactly.
tax on the average citizen.
Like a smoke screen. But let me say this, I plan to shift again here momentarily. Now, when it hurts my heart, really, because I was born and raised in Chicago. When I go downtown, and we talked about this a little bit before, when I see all the buildings closed down and the south part of downtown, there's nothing really going on. I mean, it's rough, man, abandoned storefronts. And I know I'm not going to blame nobody for it, but I would love to see Macy's come back to the water tower. Is there anything you guys can do to kind of, talk to the CEO of Macy's, see if they would come back to the water tower?
Well, let me just say this.
Yeah.
Business will go where it's safe.
Okay.
Business will go where it can make money. And what brought us to this point where you've got 40% vacancy now downtown and all of our main stores leaving is the fact that we allowed public safety to be secondary. We turned the smash and grabs and all the other crazy violence on the Mag Mile into a normal occurrence, and we disregarded anyone who said otherwise. When you have the CEO of McDonald's saying it's not safe here for his headquarters, you know we got a problem. And to dismiss those kinds of concerns, as we've seen multiple administrations do, doesn't necessarily encourage people to want to come here. And it's not just a problem to you at the Mag Mile, because there was a young man on the west side who was trying to open up a sports store, his life dream. And he got a city grant to do it.
Yeah.
He was all excited. He was on the news doing it. 2 smash and grabs snuffed that dream out. And now he's back doing whatever he was doing before. So opportunity needs strength and safety to thrive. And if you want it on Lake Street, if you want it on South Shore, if you want it on the Mag Mile, you have to put that at the forefront.
Yeah, and then plus, I'm definitely a proponent of law and order. I just want to say that. Now, I'm speaking on behalf of Tio Hardiman. Now, I would like to say that when the city became very chaotic, you had a lot of the smash and grabs downtown, looting the stores. That's a time you have to make an executive decision and bring forth law and order. But if you don't have the backbone to do it, no matter who the mayor might be, if you don't have that kind of backbone to make a decision, you may have to call the National Guard in momentarily to restore order and let people know that you're real serious about protecting the residents, protecting businesses in Chicago. I'm not saying bring the National Guard in to hurt anybody, to stand on nobody in a certain way, to try to what I'm saying is that we got to get to a point where we bring law and order back to Chicago on the highest level. That's what makes people feel safe. And when you talk like this, you have some of the liberal-minded people that be like, well, you know what? That's a little bit too hardcore. Not necessarily, especially if they're not hurting anybody. They're here to just protect businesses, man. Does that make a little sense, Alderman Lopez?
Yeah, it's always those liberal people that can hire their own security and feel safe, while the rest of us have to deal with the consequences of their politics.
I know if I was the mayor, I wouldn't walk around with 130 officers on my detail. I don't plan to run for mayor, but I'm well respected in the city. I would probably have 1 or 2 of my buddies with me, 1 or 2 of my good friends that know street street tactics. I'm just
Yeah.
messing with you guys. I'm just messing with you.
No.
So hold on for a minute. Hold on for a minute.
So Tio,
Yes.
to your point, I think when you're talking about like, some of these policies, I think Ray and I may agree with that. I don't think it's so much. I think there's a difference between liberal and then there's that woke ideology that I think oftentimes where people are afraid to make decisions, especially when it comes to safety, because of these woke ideologies that has only continued to threaten cities. But you were talking about earlier about public transportation and the dangers on public transportation. I've been taking public transportation for the last 30 years. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've never seen it so bad. And I think a lot of people in Chicago would agree with that. But it took the federal level, not on the city, not on the county, not on the state level, but on the federal level to say, hey, look, if you guys don't get your act together, we're going to take away up to $50 million away of federal funding. And that is when the sheriff's department, that is when the Chicago Police Department started having serious conversations as far as, hey, I guess we got to do something here. But if it wasn't for that on the federal level, they would have never have done that.
They wouldn't have stepped up. I understand. I got you. All right, we got Robert on the line now. Good morning, Robert.
Hey, Tio, before I speak on the gun violence, what you said about downtown, man, I remember going down to the Ebony Jet building and feeling so much pride, thinking in the future we were going to have more buildings. Not only do we not have more buildings, we don't even have the Ebony Jet building anymore. But I wanted to speak on whatever we need to do. I don't care if it's bring back spot fighter or shot fighter. Or regardless of the sitting president's politics, if he can help out, call him on it. Have them bring whatever resources, as long as they don't overstep or harass people. Whatever, losing one life is one life too much. And I do commend you all for your organization for what you all do, because the CTA was a joke, man. And it still is a joke at a point. You can't get on there without someone harassing you or smoking cigarettes next to you or walking in and out of the cars from one car to the other or whatever, selling loud and or drugs or whatever. It's just, I don't know how it got to this point, man. But as far as a oversight committee, if it can help, let's do it. But we got to make sure the people weigh in, come to the communities and actually have a serious talk with the people. Let them be part ambassadors for everything.
Well, Robert, let me ask Alderman this question here while you're still on the line. Is it true, Alderman, that more people have visited Chicago over the last couple of years here? More tourists and all that kind of stuff. I was listening to the news the other day. They were saying more people have visited Chicago. Is that true?
Yeah, they said last year. Again, these studies that come out, you always take it with a grain of salt. But they said last year it was like a record amount of money that was spent by tourists in this city.
Okay. Well, that's good to know there. So, Robert, anything else you want to add before I take those calls on?
I know. Bringing NASCAR and some of the things, I don't know how much that factored into some of the spending or some of the tourism. But if you can have tourists come and still while there's a lot of violence going on, I think we can do something for this violence, man. We just got to hit on the click on all cylinders. We really have to click on all cylinders.
And I want to say this to y'all, Alderman, all due respect as well. We had the brother, I think his name was Gary and Gatewood, that kind of led the efforts with the city back in 2025. And Chicago experienced an all-time low, compared to years in the past. And I was really, really baffled why he was not, retained in that particular seat, because this year homicides are up a little bit, a little bit more this year. There's a chance that we could have just kept everything on the right track. I'm not saying that in a real concrete way, but I do know the young man did some good work of bringing all the city organizations together and everybody that's working in the field. So I was wondering why that decision was made. That's probably a different story, but I just want to put it out there in the universe. If you have something working, you may have to try to get a repeat, in other words, all right? So,
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say is that the egos of the politicians got to take a back seat, because if you're prideful and they kind of bicker with each other, the mayor and the governor, and then they both bicker with the president. Some of this stuff, is gonna have to be put on the back burner so that we get to the roots of what we need to do and not have someone's ego cause more deaths in the city.
Okay.
And Robert, you're 100% correct. Let's not forget that Governor Pritzker already has his own Office of Gun Violence Prevention, and if the state of Illinois spends $300 million on that, and now to try to catch up to him, Brandon Johnson, our mayor, wants to have his own Office of Gun Violence Prevention with $150 million circulating through it. So all that money, all the same result, sadly.
All right. Thanks, Brother Robert. Thank you.
And I'm sure there's no coincidence that it just so happens to be an election year.
Without a
No,
doubt.
none whatsoever.
All right, Robert. Thanks for your call, bro.
All
And,
right, thanks so much. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Gotcha. So before I take the next caller, this question for both aldermen. So we talked about a lot of what's going on in the city. Now, most of it's 77 neighborhoods in Chicago. 17 of the neighborhoods are comprised of most of the gun violence. So when we talk about what's going on that's pretty good in the city right now that you all can speak to from your perspective, from your ward or citywide, what do you think is going that's good right now in the city? We'll start with you, Alderman Gardner.
What's going good? I mean, I could talk about the 45th Ward, and what we're most proud of is the developments. In the last 6 years, we've brought about $600 million worth of new developments.
Wow.
And when I talk about developments, it's not just like, oh, okay, these are beautiful buildings. They are beautiful buildings, but we're bringing off-site Northwestern medical facilities to the neighborhood. You would know how important that is, Tio, living on the south side of Chicago, of bringing medical attention to your own backyard. So we were able to do that. But also, what happens when you're doing construction? Jobs. You have to hire people. You have permanent jobs and you have union jobs, right? So we've created thousands and thousands of jobs, which again I'm very proud of. And
That's
I just
what I'm
talked about
talking
earlier. Yeah, you have to, if people are busy and they have things to do, they got to get home and they want to go to bed by 10 o'clock because they got to be up by 5 o'clock and they got to get to work by 6 o'clock. Guess what? That's going to keep you out of trouble. That's going to keep you focused. That's going to keep you on the right path, as opposed to hanging out at teen takeovers at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning,
right?
And you're creating jobs and there's revenue, which obviously is creating tax revenue for the city as well. So what we're doing in the 45th Ward and what we want to continue to do is attract businesses, maintain the businesses we have, and continue to build and create jobs for people, not only in our ward, but throughout our city.
For sure. What's your take on that, Alderman Lopez, as well? What's going on that's kind of good in the city right now, in your ward or citywide?
I'll do both. I think, first off, I'm very excited that we have the Black Fire Brigade. I think you're familiar with them, building a training facility in the 15th Ward's Bank of the Arts community. So I'm very excited. I'm always trying to get our youth to be in the first responders field, police, fire, OEMC, or what have you. We're 2/3 of the city, African Americans and Latinos. We should be a part of the fire department, part of the police department, part of 911. So we continue to make that push and to have that training facility be in the community to prepare our youth. I think it's a great thing. We just did Camp Courage with CFD, and we're going to do some more of that here. But I think citywide, what I think is going well right now for all of us is that there are still Chicagoans who believe Chicago is worth fighting for.
Okay.
And all this conversation with the teen trends and parent accountability, and even though we weren't successful, and I want to thank Jim for supporting it, more importantly than the city council battle was that conversation carried over throughout every neighborhood in the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
What should we be doing? What are we doing? What are parents doing? And how do we fight to make this right? How do we bring our values back to the forefront? And I think that was kind of long overdue, that's long overdue in this city, because many families, many voters just kind of taken it for granted that politicians have their best interest at heart. And we've seen as of late that there's a small contingent of elected officials who are pushing a very dangerous and failed agenda on our city that we have to fight back against. We can't just actively say, well, it's okay, the politicians know best. No, you need to start questioning them, watching how they vote and paying attention. And I think definitely Chicagoans are now more keyed in than they've ever been. You know, we've turned a segment of the population into George Blakemore acolyte, because now they're paying attention to how aldermen vote, showing up, speaking out. And, you know, that's not something that used to be the norm in the city of Chicago.
Yes,
So if that continues to change, I'm happy for it, because if you're held to a standard for how you vote, if you're held politically accountable for the standard of how you vote, all the better, because we'll get normal people back in that room again.
All right, good stuff. Let me get Brother Chris on the line. Good morning, Brother Chris.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Hardiman, and your guests.
Morning.
Morning. Yeah, just a few questions.
Okay.
I know some of the traditional numbers of homicides were, way, near 1,000.
Back in the decades of the 80s and the 90s, I also looked at homicides during the Al Capone era. There was a year back then where you had almost 300 homicides in Chicago. I'm talking about going back to the gangster era. So Chicago is not just a windy city because of the actual wind or because it's cold. It's a windy city because of a lot of this the gangsterism, the culture of violence and throughout the nation, not just Chicago, LA, Baltimore, New Orleans, Memphis. A lot of cities have issues with violence. But go ahead, Brother Chris.
I just had a leak. There was a report that came out from the AG about we've spent almost $300 million the first 6 months of police misconduct settlements, and the failure of the consent decree where like they've only accomplished not even 10%. So if we get a little feedback on that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, the consent decree. I had some issues with the consent decree myself, Alderman, because I noticed a lot of people that were part of that the committee, the oversight of the consent decree, they didn't select anybody that was on the front line out here fighting for the city to come together with a consent decree, whatever they call it, right? So what are your thoughts about that, Alderman? Because I noticed the person that was over it was somebody that's already working a full-time job. It was a part-time job for that particular individual. And what about all the people that put the work in here on the streets of Chicago to bring that about?
Well, I can start. I know that officially 10% or 12% is fully complete, but there are various levels of completeness in the consent decree. And I think for nearly 2/3 of everything in there, we are roughly 75%. This has to go through final reviews, which takes much more time than necessary. But most of the work is completed. Now, with regards to the spending, because the question also was with regards to the lawsuit settlement spending, not all of that is police misconduct. I mean, we just spent money, and we've spent settlement dollars 2 or 3 city councils in a row now, paying for when gangbangers have killed people and were fleeing police. The law allows Chicago to be held liable because we are the ones that caused that individual to flee while trying to arrest them, which is really ridiculous when you think about it, that a victim can sue the city of Chicago for the actions of a criminal. And that's where we find ourselves more and more now with these settlements.
Yeah, I see that's going on because Cook County was noted as the most corrupt county when it comes down to wrongful convictions, and a lot of those type of situations have been kind of like worked on or dealt with, to a degree. But we understand we got like a kind of rough history when it comes to, because it's like we have to do a balancing act here, because you cannot be so lenient on crime, but at the same time you have to get the right person. You cannot convict innocent people. That's why the city has to pay out so much over the years. Okay.
Well, that brings that back to the lawsuit that I just brought against the city, and I can definitely empathize with anybody who's been wrongly charged with wrongdoings, which the city did to me, and so I can definitely empathize with what you're saying, Tio. I totally agree with you, and to have people who are in charge of the oversight committees hiding evidence is especially concerning, because who's overseeing the overseers?
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Then I have to go to a blast from some years ago with former Mayor Rahm Emanuel, the Laquan McDonald situation. That was like it's one of the toughest situations the city's had to deal with. I'm talking about fires, cover up and all that kind of stuff. That should never ever happen again. And I told Rahm this. I wish Rahm would have basically just told the truth when it happened. If he'd have just told the truth, he would probably still be the mayor today. But I think he listened to some African American pastors. He listened to some aldermen, and then he paid the family off $5 million, and that money's gone. I know the family to a degree, but the point is people took a payoff. And see, a lot of times people feel just as long as some money's involved, it's okay. It's not okay. What happened, Ron would be the mayor today if he'd have just told the truth, and he ran on being an honest guy. And Ron was a decent guy. I know Ron personally, but come on, man, just speak up. You know, there's no sense in hiding what happened. It was going to come out anyway, all right?
Well, and Tio, that's why many of us, Alderman Gardner and I included, oftentimes question these settlements now to a degree that the law department is uncomfortable with. Because we've seen where when the city council just rubber stamps money out for settlements to make things go away, you don't know exactly what's going away. You don't know if there's some more information that you should be asking about and that it's going to blow up later, as it did with the Laquan McDonald.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
Hello?
Let's get Brother Randy on the line. Randy, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing good.
Good morning to your guests, and I'll be quick since I've been hanging on quite a while, so I'll be guest.
Yeah, I got a lot of calls this morning.
I'll be quick. I understand. You're popular, very popular. So but I just want to say that I think the city needs to provide more funding to groups like yours, Tio, as well as to activists and stuff, because I think they're doing a very effective job. So I think resources need to spend there. Also, I would like to ask the alderman also to the direct committee that concerns the question concerning funds and resources, stuff like that, since they're concerned about the Mayor Brandon Johnson, who I support 100% because I know what he's up against, President Trump, who withheld millions, billions of dollars from the city of Chicago because he doesn't like the Governor Pritzker, and Mayor Brandon Johnson. So I'd like for them to direct their concerns and issues, whether to put pressure on Trump administration them to send that money, to release that money that he held, which is not his money, but he down with OPP or OPM, of other people's money and stuff. So I do understand when you got the orange man, the orange orangutan policy of the president in office, who's very disrespectful and stuff, and don't respect people, working class people. And I understand your concerns. And I also am going to reach the mayor. I'm going to reach out to the mayor and people and have them to come on with you, Tio, because I think you have honest concern. I think you should come on the show and engage you. So I will definitely make efforts and stuff to reach out to him. But I think that also the two aldermen need to address the issue of racism, white supremacy and stuff in here in the city of Chicago, and also the disparate treatment, how black people are mistreated, and how other groups, including Mexicans and other Puerto Ricans, have gotten jobs at the expense of black people and other stuff like that. So if you're going to be talking about stuff about unfairness, let's talk about how Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and white folks have benefited from contracts and jobs and stuff like that here in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, as well as throughout the nation. Address those issues. Thank you.
All right, Randy. Let me say this also. I cannot speak for Donald Trump, and I'm not here supporting Donald Trump, but I want to say this. We have a president in the White House that can care less about what people feel about him. No matter how you protest or organize against Donald Trump, it's not going to make any difference to him. He's going to go play golf, and he's going to laugh at everybody. That's just the way it is. The only thing we can do here in the United States is wait for his term to end. That's the only way you're going to pretty much get rid of Donald Trump. And then I want to say this as well. And according to Donald Trump, he can enact the Madison Doctrine. If there's an act of war going on, he still might be the president, as crazy as it sounds, Alderman. But the thing about Donald Trump, trust me, my good people, a lot of people wasting their time criticize him, talking about it, because he could care less. It's not making him lose any sleep at all, you know? All right?
And let me just quickly say, to his point, because I know he wants an answer, so I'll give him one.
That's fine.
One, I don't know what he thinks the mayor's up against, but he's the mayor of the city of Chicago. All roads end on the 5th floor. So if he's worried about who's getting what contracts and jobs, take that up with your mayor. Two, if you're worried about the money that we're not getting from the federal government, we've only seen a $500 million decrease out of $4 billion that we get from the federal government, and that was because of the migrants, nothing else. And third, when it comes to the money that we've gotten, like from COVID and for anti-violence, Brandon Johnson just gave back hundreds of $millions to the Department of Public Health because we couldn't find anything to spend it on. Things like, I don't know, anti-violence perhaps. So while you're defending him, also question him why he's making these bad decisions as well.
Yeah. Cool. Let me get another call in there real quick because we're going to have about 6 more minutes. Al Stone, good morning to you.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
And we don't have a lot of time, so kind of make
I know.
it quick.
I'm just gonna run real quick. Gun violence could be combated by going after gun traffickers, narcotics traffickers, and human traffickers.
Okay.
I think that would reduce stuff. And if this mayor, according to the to this article, attempted to buy a parking meter behind city council's back, why don't he just sell the Soldiers Field to the Bears free and clear?
Wow, that's a stat question there. Hey, any
And
alderman
that's
want
my
to
thoughts.
respond
Have
to
a
that?
good one.
Thank you, Al.
Well, that's an entity of the Chicago Park District.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, cool.
We don't own it specifically. Yeah.
All right, let's get Brian on this. Brian, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes.
I just want to say, y'all forgetting about a major ruling that the Supreme Court just did earlier.
Okay.
Where Donald Trump is going to take 30% of y'all workforce and population with this TPS ruling, because start first thing in the morning, a lot of immigrants ain't going to be able to work or go to school or live there anymore. So if Randy think the orange orangutan is something now, wait till he sign that protective order where a lot of them Haitians and Venezuelans, they can't work no more.
Yeah,
So
saw
y'all
that.
got a major problem coming.
All right, Brian. Thank you for your call, bro. Okay.
All right.
And like I said previously here on the show this morning, I just don't believe Donald Trump is concerned about anybody's point of view. That's just the way it goes. So, Alderman Gardner, I want to ask you now, how can people get in contact with you if they need to talk to you about what's happening in the 45th Ward there?
Oh, absolutely. You can reach us at 773-853-0799 or email our office at ward45@cityofchicago.org. Last but not least, I just would like to say, for the last 7 years, I've been able to serve in the city council, and I've been able to work alongside my colleague, Alderman Ray Lopez. Anybody who lives in the south side of Chicago should be proud to have Ray Lopez, the work that he does, throughout the city, but especially in his community in the south side of Chicago. Very fortunate to have him, and I'm proud to work alongside him. And many times when we do bring things, to the council floors, I'm always proud to work with him, and I have the utmost respect for his work.
Yeah, the same here. Appreciate that. I also wanted Raymond to co-host with me once a month on the show. That's how we feel about Raymond Lopez. So how can we reach out to you, Raymond Lopez?
Visit me on socials, X, Facebook, you name it, Instagram. Visit my website, 15thward.org. Give us a call, 773-823-1539. Find me out in the neighborhoods. Listen to me on the Tio Hardiman show with my guests and friends.
Right.
And yes, thank you to Jim for that shout out. And I have to give him the same accolades on the 45th Ward, what he's doing up there in the Northwest Side, and changing the perspective of what people think the Northwest Side is something that's truly remarkable. So a steadfast voice of reason and common sense, and I couldn't be happier to work. And we need about 50 more. We need about 45 more of them.
Sounds good to me. Plus, I'm actively working on, I might meet with Melody Span Cooper here at VON to organize a show where I might invite 10 aldermen on the show with the topic, Ask the Alderman. I have about 10 questions I plan to ask all the aldermen. It'll be like a 2-hour special. I'm working on it now. We'll see what happens. I plan to reach out to you guys to be a part of that. I'll call it an event type of show, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Please let us know.
Oh, yeah, it would be great with 10 aldermen. I'll mix it up from all over the city and just ask 10 real strong questions of what's going on in the city. And then maybe the mayor joined in. I don't know, but I plan to reach out once again to the mayor and see if he'll come on the show so we can talk about his policies, whatever the case may be. But I want to thank you guys for getting up in the morning, appearing on the show with me today. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you to you, Terry, everybody.
Peace and blessings to you. All right.
All right. God bless.
All right. Got you.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you later. So with that being said, everybody, once again, I appreciate you all for tuning in to the Tio Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman show. I want to thank Terry Bishop, the executive producer of the show, and Shapira on the technical boards. In the words of Lakeside, hey, come on, take a ride. There's a party over here, and it ain't no jive. It's live, all the way live. Forget about your troubles from your 9 to 5 and just sail on. That's what you do. Just sail on. We're going to do a little something like that there. I couldn't sing today, but I got my little rap in, right? So with that being said, it's been a blast. Thank you all. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Peace and blessings to you.
Doing the best we can. A true champion for the people. saving one life at a time.